I genuinely didn't plan to come back to the Netherlands flag quite so soon, but then this video happened. 86,000 plus views and a comment section that basically turned into a low-level civil war over stripes. So today's episode isn't my follow-up, it's yours. Because if there's one thing I've learned from reading hundreds of Dutch comments, it's this. You all agree on the facts, you just disagree violently on the wording. Let's start with the loudest correction. You forgot to mention that our flag is the oldest tricolour in the world. Yes and no. Here's the issue. When people hear oldest flag, they immediately point at Denmark. Fair enough, the Danish flag is ancient, but it's not a tricolour. And this is where the comments got venijnig. Because what the Dutch flag actually claims isn't the oldest, it's the oldest continually used horizontal tricolour. That wording matters quite a lot actually. Red, white, blue, 3 horizontal stripes, still in use. That combination shows up earlier than France, Italy or Ireland, and that's the influence people are reacting to. So no, it doesn't beat Denmark, but Denmark isn't even playing the same game. It's a different sport, different pitch, different shouting. Now, the colour argument, because nothing upsets people more than this question: why did orange disappear? One explanation pops up constantly. Orange faded into red in the sun, and yes, early dyes were unstable. Orange could darken, flags at sea took a real beating. But the explanation only gets you so far, because what you actually had was, well, politics. For centuries, the Netherlands had 2 flags, the orange, white and blue, and the red, white and blue. Same layout, different meaning. Orange, white, blue signalled loyalty to the House of Orange. Red, white and blue was the state's flag, the republic, the government. So when commentators say things like both flags were used at the same time, depending on who you supported, that's not being pedantic, that's the point. And then comes the 20th century. The Prince's flag gets adopted by the Dutch fascist movement in the 1930s, and suddenly a colour scheme that once meant independence becomes, well, radioactive, which is why in 1937 Queen Wilhelmina formally fixes the national colours as red, white and blue. Not because orange faded, but because symbolism did. Now, I should apologise in advance because there is no way to say this without annoying at least somebody. Is calling Netherlands Holland wrong? Technically, yes. Holland is actually 2 provinces. But here's the uncomfortable truth the comments exposed. A lot of Dutch people do it to themselves. You shout "Hup Holland Hup" apparently at football matches. The government branded itself as Holland internationally until 2020. Even Dutch commenters can't agree if they care. Some say nobody minds, others say call me a Hollander and see what happens. And honestly, both are true. This isn't a geography problem, it's an identity one. Think England versus the UK, but less polite and probably more cycling. Another huge theme: you forgot Indonesia, you forgot Russia, you forgot Luxembourg, you forgot the USA. Okay, so let's just untangle this calmly. Indonesia, yes, Indonesia flag resembles the Dutch one, minus blue. And yes, independence era revolutionaries physically tore the blue stripe off the Dutch flag. I know, sacrilege, but red and white already mattered locally long before colonial rule, so it's not theft, it was reclamation. France, well, the French tricolour wasn't directly copied from the Dutch flag. Paris colours plus Bourbon white are the immediate source. But the idea of a republic tricolour, well, that precedent already existed. France didn't invent the concept, they perfected the marketing. With Russia, well, Peter the Great absolutely admired the Dutch shipbuilding and maritime practice. The Russian tricolour owes more to leaning from the Dutch than copying them. And Luxembourg, similar colours, shared dystanic history, personal unions. Not a clone, but not a coincidence either. So no, the Dutch didn't invent every flag. They just made the template unavoidably influential. A quick one. These 3 white crosses on the Amsterdam flag, well, they are not plague symbols. That myth refuses to die, but multiple commenters correctly pointed out that crosses predate the outbreaks. More likely explanation is, though, it includes heraldic lineage or saintly symbols or long-standing civic emblems. What is undeniable is this. It's one of the most recognisable city flags on Earth, and yes, it looks suspiciously good on absolutely everything. Here's the most interesting insight buried in the comments. Tricolours weren't just fashionable, they meant something new. Before this, flags represented rulers, dynasties, personal banners. The Dutch flag emerges during a revolt, a republic built by merchants, not monarchs. Symbol, repeatable, mass reproducible, if that even is a word, a flag for a people, not a person. And once that idea exists, it spreads. Sometimes in the name of freedom, sometimes in the name of the empire, which is the uncomfortable irony of all of this. So no, this wasn't about whether orange fades or whether France copied somebody's homework. This flag matters because it quietly redefined what a national flag is. And, judging by the comments, it still does. Because if a few stripes of cloth can spark arguments this detailed, this passionate and this stubborn, well, then the flag is still doing its job. And it's also probably why a lot of Europe and some of the ex-European colonial countries use a tricolour standard. A lot of it is based off of the Netherlands. Which Dutch flag makes more sense to you, the red or the orange? And what does that say about how you see the Netherlands? Please comment below. And if you want to see the video that sparked these comments, then you need to click here, where I visited Amsterdam in the Netherlands, not Holland. Be seeing you.